So thank you to Eduardo Bastianetto. He is a professor at the Veterinary School of the Federal University of Minas Gerais, Brazil, since 2015, where he teaches the subject on animal health, parasitology, buffalo breeding, and other topics related to animal production and human health. He works with buffalo since he's a child, owns a small herd in Brazil, and has academic experience at technical service in Brazil, in Italy, in Venezuela, and also in India. Thank you. So welcome, first of all, to Bastianetto. Thank you for to join with us this webinar. So the floor is yours, Eduardo.
Okay, thank you. Initially, I wish thank you in name of Professor Borghese, our International Buffalo Federation team, and Professor Vittoria Barilli, the committee organization of this meeting. So thank you. I'm very happy and make some contributions and talk about the health and pathology in buffaloes. So let's move on. We have a short time. So initially, let's see what's happened. I'm not changing the. Okay. We would make some few consideration about health and pathologies, because in my opinion, we need to consider animal health and food security, okay? Taking account the actual types of farms, different farms in the world, and the food demand in the world, because you cannot just talk about pathologies or animal health without care the type of farms, type of breed we have today. As well about pathologies. Usually we pretend to talk about common pathologies in buffalo farms. But I wish ask everyone to think if there's out there is a buffalo pathology or we are promoting buffalo pathologies. I will try to show that sometimes we are promoting buffalo pathologies in function of the type of farms we are organizing. Okay. So, okay, so first of all, I wish discuss a little bit about basic epidemiology and principles of animal health. Okay, when you talk about disease,
Eduardo, sorry.
Okay,
Eduardo,
okay.
we see the previous slides, that of health and pathology.
Okay, now it's okay.
No, it's the same.
In my computer, is changes the slide.
No, we see the previous one.
And now?
Here. Now, yes. Okay.
It's okay now? Okay, so
yeah.
When we discuss about disease or health, I prefer to talk about health, not disease, because we have disease when the animal are not healthy, okay? We need to consider three very important points. The animal, the genetic of the animal, the individual ability to become sick or not. That's we discuss about the tolerance of the animal to disease. The environment is very important because throughout the environment, the animal can be infected or not. And the quantity of the parasites or bacteria or virus that we have in the environment, you get the animal different challenges, and that the animal can become infected and health or infected and sick. As well, it's very important to consider the pathogen or the disease. For example, I have here an image of one Eimeria or cystis, a very important disease in young buffaloes, but it's the same for bacterial, virus, and other parasites. So we need to try to understand that if you want to promote buffalo health, it's necessary to make the identification of the correct bloodlines, more resistant or tolerant animals, take care about the environment, because the environment usually is the principal source of infection, and understand what type of pathogen, okay, what type of infection we have in each situation. So usually we have different sensibility of the animals. I want to know when we go to a buffalo farm, some animals in the same challenge, to the same types of disease, in the same environment, few animals show clinical signs of some disease and other animals not. This is the individual variation and may need to be one point, okay, to consider in animal selection. So,
sorry, Eduardo, I think we are on the slide 3 still. We see
okay,
the slide 3.
I changed it, but it takes so much time to change the slide. Maybe if you may use the presentation I sent, can be better.
Va bene, Antonella, io non posso condividere. La condividi tu? Sì. Okay, Eduardo. Okay, we will. Maybe it's better that we share the presentation from here,
Okay,
that we did with Maria. Okay.
Okay.
Just Antonella is preparing the presentation.
Okay, move more. Yeah, you can stop in this one.
Questa, sì.
Yeah, posto.
Okay, you can.
Okay, I can go. So we need to consider the individual sensibility for a specific infection. Some animals are more sensible for plant poisoning. Okay, some animals have genetic disturbance, and some animals are more sensible for parasitic disorders. So we need to understand what type of challenge we have in each farm, in each environment, reduce the possibility of the infection, and try to use some practices in the farm and maybe some specific medicines to promote health. And when you promote animal health, you reduce the impact of the infection. Okay, so it's very important to consider what are the good animal, okay, the graded buffalo, type of buffalo, bloodline, all the points related to the individual for each type of farm. You cannot say that you have one buffalo, okay, one perfect type of buffalo that you can use in Brazil, in Venezuela, in India, in Italy, in Germany, in Egypt, and other parts of the world. So we need to try to understand that if you want to promote health, we need to have the adequate data animal for each type of environment. Okay, so please move on to the next slide. Before, please. One more. Okay. Okay, now before we have one about parasitic disease. You back one, please. Okay, so parasitic disease are the most common disease in all buffalo breeds, in other words. As you know, we have a lot of for good information, scientific information about that. We can have worms, protozoa, and ectoparasites. So, for example, usually considering the age of the animals, we have a mad infection, in Semitoxocara vitulorum, strongyloides papilosus, and other mites. For ectoparasites, we have Hematopinus tuberculatus and a specific lice of buffalo, okay? Only buffalo have Hematopinus tuberculatus infections. Hypcephalus micropus, when we have a high challenge of Hypcephalus micropus larva in the environment, as well flies, the flies, as Hematoba irritans, Musca domestica, and Stomoxys calcitrans are very common, especially in tropical environments. So we need to understand, as I said, what type of parasites are more frequent or what type of disease are more frequent in each environment to reduce the infection, the impact of the infection in the animals, and use specific drugs in each situation. So that's the very important point. So maybe these pictures are not common to see in Italy, but are very common in Brazil when the animal, soon after birth, are in pasture, okay, and you try to drink the colostrum, and the animal are completely infected because the animals usually drink the colostrum and stay maybe 1 week or 10 days until 15 days in the pasture with the mother. So this is a very important point of infection, okay? So please move to the other. So I have some mates with buffalo with Rhipicephalus microopulus tick, Hematopinus tuberculatus animals. This is an image from Italy. In the other image, the young calf with chronic emeriosis. We can see also the diarrhea, the blood in the feces, and the animals with clinical symptoms. So if the environment becomes really infected, and that's very common, okay, in the corral or in the pasture, the animals became exposed for a very big number of pathogens. So we need to care about the environment. When we discuss epidemiology, animal health, and disease, we need to understand the impact of the environment to the challenge of the animals. Okay, so please move on, another one. Please try to back 2 or 3 other slides. We have non-parasitic disease to show as well. Yeah, this is okay. So, but parasitic is very important in buffalo, but we know that buffalo can be infected and sick, but other non-parasitic microorganisms have. Buffaloes can have all the disease that you can see in cattle. That's very important, okay? For example, I put some images about tuberculosis, brucellosis, catarrhal malignant fever, papillomatosis, bovine leukosis virus, okay? And maybe we have not a bovine leukosis virus, but a buffalo virus, because we have the clinical signs, but the animals are not positive for the test of bovine leukosis virus, leptospira infection, bovine viral diarrhea. So buffaloes, we need to understand, in some situations, are more tolerant to infections, are more resistant to infections, but he can have all this disease of bovine, and it is worse because buffaloes have a specific disease, just like I tried to show. Hematopinus tuberculatus, Paracupera nodulosa is very important worm, specific from buffalo, and other disease. So all these images, some few are images that I made during my services, and one image is from Professor Diomedes Barbosa, is this image of the young old buffalo with bovine leukocytosis virus, okay? So we need to understand that buffalo, sometimes people believe buffalo don't become sick, but it's not true. Buffalo become sick if they challenge the environment are really infected. And we need to understand, okay, sometimes we have negative diagnosis about some specific disease in buffaloes while you are using the tests, okay, bovine tests to make that diagnosis. For example, to check the tuberculosis in buffalo, we cannot use the bovine parameters. We need to have adequate time to make the interpretation of the tuberculin tests, okay, as well to check the clinical parameters of buffalo. So we always need to remind, not only when we discuss buffalo welfare or buffalo nutrition, when we discuss the topic about buffalo health, that buffalo is not a black cow. Buffalo is a different species and have different symptoms, different exams, different clinical manifestations. And usually, buffalo are infected, but show reduced clinical signs and spread the disease, the bacteria, the virus, and some parasites throughout the farm into all other animals. Okay, so please move on. Okay, more one. One more, please. So sometimes, okay, thank you. Sometimes people try to create a new environment, a clean environment, or change the environment. We can see in the image of the left side, when Brazilian farms try to solve the problem of Hemeriosis infections, creating this very small area to control the space to the animals, and he changed this artificial space, okay, according to the weather conditions. So, okay, in the other area, you can see a very modern curral for buffaloes, excellent structure, excellent modern, but all that became sometimes infected, and we need to understand what are the correct practices of hygiene, okay, to reduce the infection of the environment. So we can have we need to understand that in all the situations, okay, the environment became infected. These parasites or non-parasites maybe can survive more than 1 year in infection condition, and we need to understand what we need to control the source of infection and the challenge of animals infection. So when you try to control or to change the environment, maybe in the first or the second years, it's okay to reduce the incidence of some specific problems. But if you do not check, if you do not control the correct number of animals for each space, after 2, 3, 4, 5 years, all the environment became infected, and we have the same problems, and sometimes the same problems with more severity. So it's a very important to have a good plan, okay, and consider all the density of animals when we start to work with buffaloes in a farm, or sometimes are necessary to reduce the number of animals per area to control the transmission of some specific disease. We know that's very difficult nowadays. We need to have a lot of animals in a small area because the cost of production is very high, and we need to produce more and more and more. But to promote animal health, to reduce the demand or the use of specific medicines, we need to have the correct point of the type of animals, breed of animals, control the environment, as well control the quantity of animals per area. All farms have a limit. All farms have a quantity maximum of quantity of animals in each situation. Okay, so please. So for that reason, we are not uncommon nowadays. Okay, see problems in the buffalo, okay, some pathologies, okay, on the foot, in the horns, in the reproduction apparatus, in the teeth, buffaloes that became poisoning when eating toxic plants. So nowadays, in my opinion, most of the disease in buffalo are not only infection disease, but are disease, okay, or injuries that are related with a non-corrective program of mating animals, as well the artificial environment that are trying to breed the buffalo. So when possible, we need to make buffalo be a buffalo. Okay, buffalo are not cow, buffalo are not bovine, buffalo have not been selected and are not habituated, are not happy to live closed all the time in the corrals. We know in Europe, mostly in Italy, it's very difficult and very expensive to have some pastures for buffaloes walking, for buffaloes go grazing. The same in India. In India is very costly land, and people have no space for the animals have some for movement and sometimes go grazing outside. But as a consequence of that, you can see the higher incidence of pathologies not related with infection or some microorganism, but related with the environment, the artificial environment that are trying to breed the animals. So that's very preoccupant because we're moving on, okay, very fast to have metabolic disorders and clinical disorders related to the environment that we're trying to create for buffaloes. Okay, so the environment is very important, and we need to consider that during all the time. So please move more on. So, for example, this is a very typical small farmer in Brazil, at Minas Gerais state, where I live. If that's very good because it's a very small farm, okay? The animals go to the pasture, one milk daily. Calves go to the pasture after milk. There's no use of oxytocin. I don't know nowadays in Italy, but in some tropical countries, people are using a lot of oxytocin to promote the milking of buffaloes. That's very preoccupant, not only to animal welfare, but also for oxytocin residues in the milk. Is a public health problem, okay? And they use the fresh milk to produce cheese in this house, little house, very little cheese industry. So animals are very happy. We have a very little incidence of disease. Animal go to the pasture, feed, the calves go with the dam after milking. Very good quality of milk, very good, very low incidence of mastitis, very good quality of calves. But please, more on. another slide. But maybe this to promote the sustainability, okay, of the animals, the health of the animals, to breed the animals in these good conditions, we cannot have a positive income in the farm. So if you have 1 day milk day, we reduce the feed demand and have a better for buffalo reproduction because animals produce less milk. When calves go to the pasture after milk, we reduce the incidence of mastite and a better health of calf. No oxytocin use, respect the animal physiology, no animal injury, no oxytocin residues in the milk, as I said. Fresh milk to produce cheese. You know how the cheese become health, good, and more high price when you produce with a very fresh milk, and we need not store milk for a long time. And the animals can go to the pasture, they can promote the rumination, the adequate selection of different types of plants. Okay, they are not obligated to eat only that type of forages or grains that we force them to eat in the corral. They can select different plants, they can promote a better ruminant, maybe they can produce more B1 vitamin, more thiamine, and reduce the incidence of some specific disease. But we need to understand, sometimes, considering the cost of the land, the cost of the people to work in the farms, this system of production are not financially sustainable. So we need to take account the money, okay, and then come in all the farms. Okay, so please, another one. This is one consideration of FAO, okay, OEE at the Codex Alimentarius, that when you want to promote animal health, okay, we need to promote animal health to reduce the occurrence of drugs residues in the milk. So, in my opinion, when we discuss animal health or reduce animal disease, we are talking about One Health, talking about food quality, food security, and we need to promote animal health and reduce the necessity of medicines in our farms, including buffalo farms. But we know that is difficult nowadays because the animals are being created in closed areas, in confined system, and are becoming dependent of a lot of artificial foods, artificial medicines as well. So that's very important. To reduce the possibility to have milk contamination, okay, we need to promote animal health. And promote animal health is give conditions to the animal live in a more natural way as possible. So, more one, please. I take a lot of publication, okay? When we talk, the topic of this lecture nowadays is buffalo farming on air, from farm to fork, okay? That's very good, that's very important. We are discussing that in Brazil as well. We can have a higher price of the food, of the buffalo cheese, of the buffalo milk, when we have the direct sell from the farm to the consumers. That's very positive, I agree with that, but we need to understand the topic that I just talked about, One Health. In 2010, United Nations and the World Bank recommended the adoption of One Health approaches in the document 50 Global Progress Report on Animal and Pandemic Influenza. Why that? Because I take a lot of publication, Brazil, India, Europe, about the incidence of disease in the buffalo breeds, okay, as all-death zoonotic disease, fasciole hepática, aflatoxin residues in the milk, Escherichia coli in cheese and eggs. Eggs, you know, that are from chicken, another example. So, epidemiology of brucellose, the incidence of tuberculosis. So, if you want to discuss, okay, about quality of the food, about promotion of buffalo health, to have a good quality and food security, we need to understand all the steps related to the animal health, and more than that, animal environment. So to talk about from farm to fork, we need to understand how this topic, including the zoonotic disease transmitted by milk and cheese. Okay, more one, please. So to conclude, okay, we need, you know, that the buffalo health is a consequence of correct planning for the production system according to the particularities of climate and purpose of the herd. So we need to have animal health and production index.
It was concluding his presentation.